We are talking about an outrageous and tragic case of a 31-year-old man who was hit by an alleged drunk driver and then killed, driven 2 miles down the road. This was a chemical dependency counselor at an addiction treatment facility. Joining me now is Anna David. She's the executive director of thefix.com. She herself, recovering addict. Anna, let's talk about how shocking it is or is not to hear that an addiction counselor relapsed and then was involved in such a horrific accident.
Well, it's a horrible, horrible story, and Yolanda and Marco, I'm so sorry. It's anecdotally, I would say you do not hear of addiction counselors relapsing all that often. The accident itself is so tragic that is more shocking. But you know, many sober people work as addiction counselors. Statistics say it's about 50% of the people that work there, and relapse is a part of the disease. There does seem to be a form of denial a little bit within the addiction community that we say relapse is a part of the disease, people relapse, but then we have these expectations that people who work in recovery aren't actually addicts in the same way civilians are. But it does happen, and it is a tragedy. I think it's more of a tragedy when an addiction counselor relapses.
Okay, but Anna, let's shine a little light on this. I mean, you could walk out of here and relapse right now. I mean, that's how cunning your disease is, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, it could happen right now.
Anybody could.
But let's talk about, are you likely to get in a car and drive if you relapse?
Well, I think if you relapse, you are not in control necessarily of your decisions anymore. You are still responsible for them, but anything could happen.
We did receive a statement from the CEO of Twin Tower Treatment Center. It's where Sherry Wilkins is employed as a drug and alcohol counselor. Here it is. Our hearts go out to the victim's family. What we do for a living does not protect us against relapse. Unfortunately, this is not a unique incident. The disease doesn't stop when you stop using. The consequences of relapse and long-term sobriety are disastrous. Sherry was a caring professional. This isn't about being bad. This is about being sick. Anna David, you're a recovering addict. How do you get people to understand that? And I understand, I still have trouble thinking that way because this is bad stuff, what's happened here. The disease makes people do bad things, that's for sure.
It does. And, you know, there's a lot of talk about, oh, they're addicts, they have a disease, and people think that means that we in recovery mean they're not responsible for what they do, but they are. It is a disease, but I think when we're talking about a situation like this where it's somebody who has a history of hit and run, we're not talking about the disease anymore.
Right, so hit and run is not something characteristic of addiction.
No.
It's something that this individual was prone to in her disease. Anna David, close me out on this. Help people understand that piece. Even I have trouble with it when horrible things like that happen.
Well, addiction is a disease, and I think that addiction counselors are at higher risk than other people because it is incredibly difficult to do something for a living and not believe you're an expert on it. And to, you know, humility is something all addicts and all human beings struggle with.
Yep, you're right. I'm going to interrupt you and just say we're going to talk about that very issue, about what goes on in treatment centers that you need to think about and how people who work there need to take care of themselves so horrible things like this do not happen.